happy World Water Day. It's absolutely fantastic to be speaking with you on this really important day. As you know, I'm Kate, and I'm the Global Director of Society at Diageo. And we're so proud and honored to partner with you on such a really important subject for us. And I guess at Diageo, obviously, as a global drinks company, water is absolutely essential to us, whether it's brewing Guinness in Nigeria or creating Johnnie Walker in Scotland or Crown Royal in North America and all the other brands. Our business is so fundamentally dependent on water, and that's why it's been such a focus for us for over 20 years. And why it's great to be honoring World Water Day with you. And I guess one of the reasons why when we were pulling together our 10-year sustainability strategy, which is called Society 2030 Spirit of Progress, as we were thinking about what were the issues that we really need to focus on in this decade like no other. Water is absolutely at the heart of it, both in terms of our own operations, but also in terms of the communities where we operate. And of course, critically, this focus on water sanitation and hygiene.
Oh, thank you, Kate. Well, it's lovely to be talking to you on World Water Day. I'm Tim from WaterAid. So we've got water in the name. It's at the heart of everything we do. I guess on a day like today, it just makes me reflect on how many people in the world don't have water. Many of us take it for granted, but actually it's close to 800 million people who don't have access to running water. And with COVID dominating our lives at the moment and looking further ahead, people worrying about other pandemics, a staggering 3 billion people in the world can't wash their hands with soap at home. And you mentioned sanitation, 2 billion without toilets. So there's a really big issue out there that we need to confront. But it's fantastic to be working with Diageo on this. I love the fact that we've been partnering for many years now, actually, and so excited about the next 10. As set out in your new strategy.
Our partnership with WaterAid is really for us also puts in context, the water crisis. We know water is so critical for life, so absolutely essential for business. But I think, our partnership with you has really helped to deepen our understanding about, the extent of the challenge, but also the real potential through working in partnership to help address it. And it feels quite apt that the theme for this year's World Water Day is valuing water, because certainly as following on the year we've all experienced, it feels like that realization, that recognition of just how important water is, but crucially how desperate a situation for the many millions of people that lack that human right. It's just really brought that into focus.
I totally agree, and it's at risk. We're all reading about climate change and the many threats that poses to the world, but actually the way that climate affects people is principally through water, either far too much or not nearly enough. It's either flooding or it's drought. This is, we see this in many of the communities we work with. In India, for instance, typically people are seeing what used to be a weather pattern of 10 heavy downpours is replaced by 1, but with the same amount of water, all in one go. And the trouble is, well, one, there's a massive risk of flooding, but also it tends to just run off. So the groundwater that everybody is dependent on for their daily needs, it's not replenished. So these kind of changes, and they're taking place all across the world, in rich countries, in poor countries. Water is an ever more precious and scarce resource. It's a bigger issue than ever, and we need to find solutions that will be resilient to change. Give people reliable sources of water that are not affected by changes in climate, and enable them to be resilient, because I think a community without water can't be resilient, can't adapt to the changes that the world brings.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point. And this idea about water is resilience is,
Yeah.
is so important. And it's certainly one of the things that we at Diageo think a lot about, and have done for 20 years is, through a focus on water, you can create much more resilient operations. Your workforce is much more resilient, and also through a focus on the supply chain. Lots of people talk about understanding your carbon footprint, which is important, but understanding the water footprint of your supply chain, and also investing in water, sanitation, and hygiene there as well just creates that much more resilient supply chain. And then certainly, and we've seen this very powerfully through our work with you with WaterAid since 2015, for example. We've provided together clean water and sanitation to 80,000 people in sub-Saharan Africa, places like Nigeria, Ghana, Tanzania, Uganda, and Ethiopia. And then I think crucially, what we've learned together is the benefits that the provision of WASH provides, not just for that vital resource, but also unlocking the potential and unlocking the economic activity in a community. And it's that real unlock. And I think one of the projects that we're really excited about working with you on is the female-led project providing clean water and sanitation to 10,000 people. And it feels like it builds on the learning we've had together about water and climate change being so impacted, but also that disproportionate impact on women, when that resource is lacking. And by providing that, the unlock you can see for business, but also for the community. So it's really exciting to see us working together in that area.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more about the impact on women. I mean, we all know that in households around the world where water is not available, it's almost always true that women are the ones who have to collect it, sometimes walking huge distances. So it's a great drain. On the other hand, when women are empowered and have the access to water, they can be fantastic leaders in their community, leaders on making their community more resilient. And as you were saying earlier, about making business more resilient. We need both of these. We need all of this. Water's just a foundational thing, isn't it? I mean, it's like oxygen. Life can't go on without adequate water. And I think, in order to achieve SDG 6 and make it last in a changing world, in a climate changing world, we've got to pay attention to making these things work. Now, you've been championing this within the corporate sector, haven't you? So tell me more about that.
Well, yeah, no, it's a great point, and I think we've seen, we've seen firsthand about the business benefit that it brings, but also the community benefit. And for the past 20 plus years, we've been really embedding water stewardship in every aspect of our business, in our supply chain, in our communities. And we also find it's a real point of passion and pride for our people around the world as well. And one of the things that we're very proud to be partnering with WaterAid on is making the business case for an investment in clean water and sanitation through WASH for Work. And I think it's one of those really important things to understand that it's obviously the right thing to do. It's such a critical life force, but it is just so powerful for business as well. And especially as we come out of this terrible pandemic and really start to think about the recovery, it's going to be absolutely critical. So, we do it at Diageo through a focus on operational efficiency. And as part of our 10-year targets, we're committing to have every drink we make consume 30% less water than it does today, and 40% less water in water-stressed areas, and also to replenish all of the water we use in production in water-stressed areas. So that's over 4 billion liters of water. And we'll do that through more than 150 community water projects with a very, very strong focus on water, sanitation, and hygiene, and other really critical replenishment activities like things like reforestation and also desilting of dams to really make sure that the communities around where we operate and where we source are resilient and are able to recover and thrive in the years ahead.
Your role modeling is so impressive. You know, the Diageo's commitment to this is so exciting to hear. And we know from WaterAid's work on trying to create the environment for more investment in water around the world, and from research we've done recently, that there is a massive gap in investment in water supply around the world. And whilst the role of the public sector and NGOs like WaterAid is making a contribution, actually we need the whole of the private sector to step in here. We need investment from the private sector, and we need the kind of role modeling from water engaged companies like Diageo to role model this. And it's fantastic that you're leading within your own sector on this. Fantastic to hear.
No, well, it's great, and I think, you know, I feel it's like we've learned so much together, you know, over the past years of our partnership, and we're certainly really excited about, you know, about the next phase of it, you know, between that link with resilience. I think really leaning more into the link with, you know, engaging and empowering women in things like water committees as that unlock, you know, and also the work that we do together to really advocate for water stewardship, you know, and the kind of collaboration really that is needed. I think certainly one thing that we've become very aware of, particularly in the last few years, is that in addition to taking action in operations, in communities, and in the supply chain, that often many of the challenges, particularly at the basin level, are collective challenges and actually requires collaboration across so many different actors to make sure that the water basin is preserved. So it's not enough just to take action in your own backyard, as it were. You know, many of the problems are actually upstream as well. And so it's that collective sort of valuing of water and recognition of just what water stress can do, you know, that feels like it's very needed, and it will hopefully unlock some of that investment gap that you were talking about, because that's very real.
Yeah, I completely agree, and that point you're making about the importance of getting it right in a water basin, in a watershed, is so important. You know, and the different actors, the public sector, the different private sector actors, the community working together, and the importance of securing the supply of water, as well as making sure that it reaches everybody in that area. And of course, often these two are geographically quite a long way away from each other, and sometimes cross national boundaries, don't they? So yeah. It's a complicated issue. It's so important to get the different stakeholders lined up, I think. So important to get all the relevant players, the public sector, the private sector, the community engaged, and managing such a precious asset in a responsible way.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I'm very struck by us, you know, not only finding ourselves coming out of a global pandemic, but also finding ourselves in the decade of action to deliver the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and obviously of all the 17 goals, they're all important, but I was very struck by just how foundational SDG 6 for clean water and sanitation really is, and I know that progress on that goal is behind where we need it to be, and it's also that unlock for so many of the other 16 SDGs. So it feels like now really is the time on World Water Day to, you know, to value water, to really recognize the role that it plays in community resilience, in supply chains, and in business resilience, but also as that unlock really to create the future we want to see through to 2030. So it's just such an honor to, you know, to partner with you, to learn with you, to learn from you, and happy World Water Day.
And happy World Water Day to you.